Yeah, I'm starting the stream. Let me just set some things up in here. Oh, come on, come on. Because I think that we're live. But it doesn't seem like it's showing me that. No. I cannot see it. Maybe I think I know why. Okay. Yeah, but it's showing live right now. Yeah, I believe that we're live. Yeah, there we go. Alright, welcome everyone. So, in today's stream, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be talking about the Bitbucket, and this is going to be for the absolute beginners. So, those who haven't touched Bitbucket at all, this is going to be for you. Maybe some of you were using the GitHub. If yes, then this is going to be easy for you because you're already gonna understand some of the terminologies in the Bitbucket and everything else. All right, so first let me navigate to the Bitbucket first, and let's see first what the Bitbucket is. So to put in a simple way, Bitbucket is like a code repository where you can actually store your code and where other developers can actually be contributing to the code that already exists, and the others can actually review that code, and so that code can actually be released to the production. Now, when I say production, what do I mean? I mean the environment. So basically, when it comes to the environments, you have environments like development environment, you have environments like staging environment, and you have environments like the production environment. What is the development environment? Basically, the development environment is the environment that you're going to be using for the testing purposes. When some features needs to be tested out, where a new account, let's say, needs to be created on some banking application, when like a withdraw testing needs to be done, deposit testing that needs to be also done. So you can use your development environment. You're not gonna be using the real data, so that environment is not being seen by the actual users who are using your application. So it's meant for the developers. The staging environment, so basically the staging environment is like the environment that almost contains the real information, but this information is something that you can use for testing purposes as well. So that is like the staging where basically before it goes to the production, where the live data is actually there, where your users are using the application. It is within that staging area where you or whoever you can use the more, let's say, real data and test it out. And you can break it, but the thing is, you don't want to break your production, because basically this is something that is being done, and there's this saying that you never actually deploy some of the changes on Fridays, right? What the keyword deploy means, this means that the code that has been written has been updated and also has been released to the production environment. All right, so, and it's saying like that this is for the software delivery from the planning to production and beyond. And there is this advanced topic, which is continuous integration, continuous development. This could be actually a topic for itself, because it can contain a lot of things, and it's actually leading towards the DevOps path. But we are not gonna be talking about the DevOps path. We're gonna be solely focused on the development. And so now I'm saying like, oh, there is development and now there is DevOps. What is going on? So the DevOps is actually something that was this is something that is kind of newish thing, where the whole goal is to automate the whole process of deploying code to the production environment. So it has some stages that you actually need to go through. So if I go here and if I say DevOps, hey Sheikh, what's up? So DevOps lifecycle, and within the DevOps lifecycle, so this is what we got, right? I can go here, yeah, and this is it. So continuous development, integration, testing, continuous delivery, continuous monitoring, feedback, and all of those things. But what I really think that was Atlassian DevOps, I believe that there is this great picture that tells us how the DevOps is actually working. All right, so how does it go? How do you actually go with this? So it's like with the planning, discovering, continuous feedback, plan, build, test, deploy, operate, observe, and it goes in circles. So Bitbucket can also be used for that, but this is actually something that that I'm not gonna be going through. So there are a lot of things that you can actually do with the Bitbuckets, but the Bitbucket is really, really similar to the GitHub, but Bitbucket has some additional features that GitHub basically doesn't have, and in my opinion, this is the CI/CD process that you can actually have, where you can finalize the whole DevOps process. Okay, the very first thing when it comes to GitHub, when it comes to Bitbucket, are going to be your repositories. And when it comes to repositories, you can actually say that basically it's like a place. Shake, yes, you can integrate your Bitbucket with Jira. Actually, if I go back here, this is something that I've done recently. So here it says Jira issues, and within the Jira issues, these are my sites. These are my sites that I'm actually using, and basically I can have my I can have my Jira tickets being shown here. Alright, so why do we want to Bitbucket? Not sure what do you mean. It's the question is why you want to use the Bitbucket. If that is something that I get, the main advantages of the Bitbucket, personally, to me, what I actually saw with the Bitbucket itself is basically, first of all, that seamless integration with Jira. That's one thing, and the another thing is that you're having this CI/CD process where you can actually create your pipelines. But this is something that is kind of more advanced. I'm not gonna go into that because that is a topic on itself. So I would say that these two, yeah. I mean, we can check that. Okay, so you have Bitbucket. This is the GitHub. And you have it in here. So these are the features in here that you actually have. And basically there is the pricing and, you know, everything else. So the thing is that it's, I don't know, it's almost the similar kind of thing, but yeah, you see what actually says. It's not Bitbucket now boasts more than 10 million registered users, which are not enough supplement to GitHub, which has been growing from its development, makes Bitbucket firmly one of the leaders in the Git code hosting marketplace. So that is actually something that is kind of an advantage of Bitbucket. So I would say the marketplace usage, that is something that you can actually have. Okay, so the another thing is these are kind of comparisons between the two. And there is this developer adoption in here. Yeah. And as you can see, lacking the dominant position in open source. Yeah, Bitbucket continues to play second fiddle to GitHub in terms of the number of users. So like GitHub is more for open source, but the users of Bitbucket are much larger than the users of GitHub. So there are differences really. There are differences between them, and you can actually see for yourself. You can just Google it out, and basically you can just see the differences. So when it comes to creating the repository, the very first thing is, first of all, it's gonna ask you for your workspace. So the thing is, when it comes to the workspace, I have defined that my workspace is this open DevOps practice. Just ignore that because recently I got, not recently actually, like a month ago when there was Teams. There was also this booth where two gentlemen and Rodney and Ed, they were actually giving out their Atlassian DevOps cookbook toolchain book that actually was focused on this open DevOps practice that actually connects tools like Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, and Ops Genie into one, creating one perfect DevOps lifecycle. But that is a different thing. Okay, so this is the thing. What we actually have in here is we have like creating a project. I'd say that I want to create a new project in here. I want to name my project Flappy Bird. I don't know if I'm going to be flagged or there's going to be a copy strike by this. Flappy Bird doesn't exist anymore, but I'm not taking any rights of it. And I'm just gonna name it Flappy Bird, and the repository name, so this is the project name, and it says workspace repositories are grouped into the projects. Repository name, this is going to be, let's say, development, for example. Now you have options in here for the access level. Just like in Jira, when you have the team managed projects and you have open, limited, and the access, and you have, and in here you have like, this is going to be like open, or this is going to be private. So I'm gonna just go with this and to be like private repository. When it's actually on the open repository, there is kind of, you're kind of exposing yourself more, let's say, to the internet and your whole base, your code base to it. So if there's a specific need, right, for you to actually have this open to the world, and if you actually want this to be open source code and this can be actually viewed by anyone, you can go ahead and you can just uncheck this. Alright, so include the README. So you have the README, which is going to be something that I'm going to select yes with a tutorial for the beginners. And you have a default branch name, and in here it says main. And you will actually see when I create the repository, again, there's going to be something that are going to be called the branches, which are kind of, let's say, the parts of your application. In the main repository, it's like all of the main code that is being stored, and while on the other let's say folders, it should be like much more easier, you have like different features, right? So let's say, for example, you have the main application of let's say design tool Figma, right? And you have all of the code that is necessary to show the design file, the Fig Jam, and everything else. So who knows about Figma? It's okay. Let me take maybe a much easier example, Instagram, right? So all of the main code for the Instagram that is actually being stored is, let's say, going to be stored in the main branch. And if, let's say, there is a new feature that is going to be developed, there is going to be another branch. And the thing is, what you can actually do is that new feature that is going to be developed, you can actually merge it to the main repository where all of the rest of the code is being stored. And in that way, well, your new feature gets released. Okay, so this git ignore, you just want to leave it to be as yes is recommended. MOC, this is it. I'm gonna create the repository right now. Alright, and as you can see, this is actually, so this is the project name, as you can see, the Flappy Bird, and the development, the development path that we are actually having in here. So this is the main interface that you're going to see here. And remember that README that I mentioned is this. So, and it's saying like you'll start by editing this README to learn how to edit file on a Bitbucket. Click on source on the left side, click on README, and then click on edit button. So if you actually want to do that, yeah, you can do it for sure. So click on the source on the left side. So basically there's no like source or something like that, but the thing is how you can actually do it. You just click on it, just click on edit, and from here you can actually edit your file. I'm not going to be doing that for now. I'm just showing around what is the interface and what basically you're actually seeing in here. So this is this main branch that I was mentioning about, and that main branch is actually where your code is being stored. Now you can of course create additional branches, but this is your main branch where a lot of your code is actually going to be stored. One of the things how the code is actually now being stored, that is another thing that I'm going to be explaining in a bit. You can click on invite, and in here it's gonna lead you to the repository permissions in here, and within the repository permissions you have the permission of the admin itself. You can add users and groups, and you can define their permissions, where you have read, write, and admin. So read, they can view, clone, and fork the repositories. You have the write, can push code, create and merge pull requests, and admin can manage repository settings, and users delete the repository and also inherits all of the write permissions. Just like in Jira, when you're adding people to your project, and when you actually add people to your project, you define project roles to them. You actually grant them project roles, not to the groups. Why roles and not groups? Because roles are actually more flexible, and they can actually be more scalable as your user base start to grow, and it's more better practice to use roles and instead of using the groups. And also, when granting permissions, never use a single user to grant permissions in Jira. But that is the Jira part. So this is the Bitbucket. Okay, the thing is that you also have in here is this clone option. So this clone option is almost like downloading this whole repository right here to your local machine, right? And it's saying in here that you need to execute this part of the code right here. So this part, it's saying like git clone and etc. For this, you would actually need to have git installed on your machine. So if I say git downloads, and I'm saying it's gonna go for git downloads, and in here you have options to download the git either for Windows, for Mac OS, or for Linux. So those are the options that you're gonna be given. And then what you can actually do when you go with a clone, it's gonna be like downloading this repository, okay, downloading this part of the repository to your local machine. But of course, in order to actually execute this command, you would actually need to go to either your terminal or command prompt if you're on Windows, and to actually copy and paste this. All right, so that is what the clone is being used for. Now there is this whole process of git, right? So git pushing code, let's say process. I think that there is great explanation of the Git. Yeah, this is it. Okay. And I want to sign up for free, just not for now. So this is something they're gonna be getting. So the main thing. So this is when you download the code to your computer. But let's say if you want to add some of the files to this specific repository, what actually you need to do, how it goes. So if you go back to the picture right here, the very first thing is something that you're actually having here. This is something that is called the local directory. The local directory is actually your directory within your system, and all of the files that you actually contain in your directory. Let's say you just want to add some of the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You're like building your own website. You want to add your website to your Bitbucket. Now, to add the terminology to this, you actually want to push from the local repository to your Bitbucket repository, and there is a whole process of it, and that is this process. So the very first thing is going to be git add. When you actually type in git add, you also need to type what you actually need to add. The another thing that I forgot to mention is when you're setting up the Git, you also need to configure it. You need to configure it in a way. For the Git to be using your username and to be using your email address in order to actually connect with your workspace. Otherwise, your Git commands won't actually work. So what actually happens in here? So you're having the first command, which is going to be git add, and this is gonna add it to the Git staging part. Okay, remember that I told you that there is like development environment, staging environment, production environment. And when you go for add, so it's like almost preparing to it's like the Git is taking notes of what is going to be pushed to your repository after all of the previous processes were actually completed. So then it actually gets added to the Git staging part. The second command that you're actually gonna be using, and it's gonna be located in here, are gonna be your commits. Now, what is actually the commit itself? The commit itself is nothing more and nothing less of like modifications that you're gonna be doing to your code, either than modifications, let's say there are going to be some edits, but also there needs to be a message added to it. So what actually is going to happen in there is with the command. So first you had like git add, and you added your, let's say, file, you added your website files to the staging environment of Git. Now you want to commit this. So what it actually means, you're telling that this is going to be your first commit. So it's gonna tell the Bitbucket that there is going to be some adding to the final or actually the Git staging part. So what actually that to local Git repository. So when you actually do the Git commit, is going to go into the local Git commit repository, which is going to be this one. And this is like the commit. So it's actually saying in here, so this is like from the git ignore, and this is from the readme. And from the readme itself, so when I was creating this repository, it also added this readme in here as well. So since I actually did that, so as you can see, lines updated. So these are the lines that were actually updated. So this actually happens with the git commit. So now if you were about to do some of the changes, there also is going to be a commit as well. So when you're actually changing some things, let's say you're modifying and you're gonna say, you know what, there was a change in the HTML, and it was all about, let's say, API fetching of the, I don't know, API fetching of transactions, let's say, of your banking app. And there's also going to be a commit in there as well. So the commits would happen for that as well. Okay, so the another thing you're actually having here, this actually would be really, this could get this could be like a really long page, especially when you have a lot of developers working on this one project. So a lot of commits would be shown in here. So yeah, this is something that you should be aware of. I also have the branches. So when it comes to the branches, and it's saying in here, so this is like the main branch. So this is something that really you don't want to change that directly until it passes through the pull request. Okay, so let me explain that. So first, the branches. I already said the main branch is like the main branch where everything happens. Let's say this is your open source code. But then again, let's say you're working on some bug fixes, or you're working on some new features. So when I go for create a branch, and it's gonna say in here that I have the types. I have like bug fix, I have feature, I have hotfix, I have, let's say, a release. But I'm going to say, you know what, this is going to be the feature, and this is going to be from the branch of main, and this is the feature is going to be, let's say, face recognition. I'm gonna click on create. Alright, now what happens is that basically you're having these two in here. So it says check out your branch. This branch does not contain any changes. Check out on your local machine to do some work. So when you do git checkout feature face recognition, it's gonna go back to your local machine. You do some of the changes, and when you do some of the changes, you're also gonna be doing the add, you're also gonna be doing the commit, and after the commit, there is going to be a push. All right. So when you're actually pushing the code, pushing the changes. All right. So, and when you actually do this, it means that you will actually branch out to go to your local repositories and start doing some work. And if I want, I can check out, and it's saying like check out in source tree. You don't have to use the source tree because it's like another, let's say, it's a different software. There is that can be using Git, but it has the user interface, right? So that is the only difference between that and terminal, because the terminal doesn't really have a user interface, just plain text. All right, so you also have to view the source, and when you actually view the source, it leads you to this feature right here, and you have like these branches that you can now switch between these branches. So if I go here, okay, right, and it's saying here, but look at this. My URL, it's saying face recognition, but it's still there. Okay, whatever. If I go, let's say, for all of branches, yeah, okay, can go to source, can go here. All right, so those are the things. You have the branches, active branches, all branches. And when you actually do, now, the more important thing is there was an adding, there was a commit, and as the last resort, as the final step, there needs to be a git push. So what happens in here is when you're doing a git push, that means your code is going to be pushed to these to the repository, and when it's being pushed to the repository, depending on where you have branched, have you actually branched to the main branch or to actually some other branches using the git checkout feature. All right, so let's see here. So commits, branches, and when you do the push, if everything is good, of course, all of the new files will actually appear here. So let me see if I have actually something to show you. Yeah, for the commits, this is something that I actually also had. Bitbucket pipelines, and it was saying main py created online with Bitbucket. So what actually was that? How did I actually do it? So what I did was I clicked on these three dots right here, and I clicked on add file. So we can actually do that in here. I'm gonna click on three dots. I'm gonna click on add file. It's gonna ask me what is going to be the name of this file. So let me say it's gonna be index.html, and maybe I can go ahead, write some HTML code in here. Let's say it's gonna have the heads. It's gonna have meta, and it's going to be jar set. It's gonna be, let's say, UTF-8 or something like that. Oh, the very first thing, HTML language, and I'm going to say language for here. It's gonna be English. And also in here I'm defining the body tag, and I can say like hello h1, and I can say this is the end of the body tag, this is the end of head tag, this is the end of HTML tag, and basically let's say I have like everything that I need, and it's gonna say commit, and I'm gonna say commit the changes. So now what is going to happen is going to say, you know what, there's going to be these things in here. So these are the this is something that I have committed. Remember, when it comes to the commit, you're not pushing the code, you're just saying, okay, I'm gonna add to the file is gonna be this one, and it's saying that this is the message. And there are some things that can be done in here. So the whole idea is like you cannot just push the code and code gets uploaded and everything like that. I mean, you can if it passes some of the tests and you have the whole continuous integration, continuous deployment, development in your Bitbucket, which is going to be this one. These are going to be the pipelines, but this is not something like for beginner friendly. The thing is that each code that is being pushed needs to be reviewed, and this is something that is going to be reviewed either by the engineering managers or the senior developers or the leads. I don't know how many of those development roles you actually have, but the thing is the code is being reviewed, and if there are some misunderstandings in there, it could be either rejected or it could be approved. This time I'm going to say, you know what, this is going to be approved. I've checked everything and this is actually being approved. Now what happens if I go to my source right here, and it's saying that there is an index HTML being added right here. So if I click on this, it's gonna take me to the raw code. Now go back to the commit in here. I can see that this was actually the commit that was made, and it's saying index created online with the Bitbucket, and that was actually one of the commits that I have basically made. Okay. Now, the thing is, if I want to, let's say, source branch, destination branch, delete main after pull request is being actually merged. Reviewers. So source branch, destination branch, I'm going to say test. The reviewers, the reviewer is going to be me. Okay, I cannot add myself as a reviewer. What the heck? Okay, I cannot add myself as a reviewer. That's weird. So source branch, destination branch, we got that. Here, nothing has changed. This commit has no changed file to display, which is actually true. I have nothing that was actually being changed. But what happens if someone jumps here? It says edit. It says here hello. So now there's actually going to be commit. Create a pull request for this change. And I'm going to say we're going to be the reviewers here. Okay, it's not adding. Creating a pull request. And now I'm having a pull request. It's saying index HTML edited online with Bitbucket. And now the question is, files were changed. What was actually changed in here? With a plus, you're going to see that there was something that has been added. With a minus, you're going to see something that has been deleted. And I can see that this was actually something that has been added in here. Let's say that we were actually on the meeting. We agreed upon this to be finished, and it was finished and it was added, and now I'm the one who is actually reviewing it. I'm saying, yeah, this is going to be approved, and that there is also something that is actually important to do here. So since in order for this the change to be applied to the file, what it needs to be done, it needs to be merged. So if I click on here, I'm going to say that this is going to be the merge, and I'm going to say, you know what, this is going to be the merge commit, and I'm going to say, I'm not going to close the source branch, I'm going to merge these two together, and now this has been actually merged. Now it's saying that this was merged, and if I go to the commit, it's going to say merged online with the Bitbucket of the pull request. So actually what this means, if I go back in here, we're going to see that basically there is a new line of code that has been added, and this was actually being added with this pull request that was actually being requested, because there was editing that needed to be reviewed, and it was actually being reviewed, it was being approved, and when it was approved, it was also merged with the main repository, and the changes were actually made. Alright, so this is something that this is something that is enough for the beginners. And yeah, I'm gonna end this stream right now, so don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Bye bye.